I really would like to take down the previous video, but I'm going to leave it up. It's a long video. There are uh, many great qualities about it, but I get flustered. There's so much to say that, and it's so interwoven, and you're talking about different layers of manifestation, different layers of its existence. It manifests uh, in a sort of evolution by different ages. That's the equation. You know, Progressively more with the equational rate of travel um, in the direction that it's going. So it's difficult, and I'm going to kind of display to you how difficult it really is. Just put yourself maybe in these shoes and imagine yourself taking on this task and what's really trying to be done here. I, I'm I'm majority of the time upset with myself because I can almost see that there unfortunately is an open door to the interpretation of all this as being against Masons, you know, being against people that are in other religions titled as mystery religions, you know, and I'm not. I'm not at all. Listen to my poem that I did entitled The Other Side. I mean, that will explain exactly what I feel. It will explain the inspiration that I feel from the Spirit of Truth. It will explain the paradox where Jesus Christ calls Ephraim a treasure hidden in the field. I thought Ephraim was, you know, really bad individual wrapped up in the occult and Satanism. Well, he is, but Jesus sees him as a treasure, and I can in a sense tell you what I understand about that. And it's like the paradox of all this, it's how why Jesus says to go into the lost sheep of the house of Israel, to his true disciples. It's and then what the Spirit of Truth and the information that the Spirit of Truth gives us to go to them with. They're the only ones that can understand it. They're the only ones that have taken time and had concern in their life for a higher spiritual truth, and they went looking for it. I mean, that says a lot. It says a lot. It absolutely at that point validates their worth. And I'm talking about Freemasons. I'm talking about Mystery Society people. I'm talking about people that you would call Satanists. People that, uh, you know, people in these organizations are involved in this plot of mass murder. I'm talking about them too. And that's the unfortunate side of all this. So how can Jesus, as we've already shown before, that uh, this parable of this hid treasure, and we've defined that parable using the Bible, scriptural support that backs it up, even the study notes of the Schofield, that treasure hid in the field that Jesus Christ um, had basically given his life for, purchased with his own blood. It was the enemy. It's defined as Ephraim, even in our age now. As we know, Ephraim represents the rod, the ruling elite class of the mystery religions and the secret societies. The pinnacle of Freemasonry as it reaches its 33rd degree and becomes illuminated. How could how could we, in just the surface, be warring against this evil and all these evil people and all this evil stuff they're done? But then Jesus cares about them so much, that he creates disciples and then pours out knowledge upon them, which is relative to what these people, the mystery societies, have already, in a sense, spent their entire life to gain a perspective on. And then Jesus Christ would pour it out to us in a matter of moments, you know, in a matter of moments, so that we can come into the observable view of these people that are looking for truth, but yet they have rejected Jesus, and then they only accept the knowledge, and then the knowledge has to be tangible in a sense, in a scientific way. Well, Jesus Christ, in a sense, arms us with these tangible perceptions of these physicalities of knowledge that are simply studied in a scientific manner. But in reality, they should be understood in a spiritual manner. It shouldn't be the quanta of things. It should be the quality of things. It shouldn't be quantitative physics. It should be qualitative physics. One pair of shoes with no holes in them is forever better than a million pairs of shoes with holes in them. So it's not the quantity of the thing that's going to get you through something. It's the quality of the thing. And then that's where being humble just to have one simple pair of shoes with no holes in it to get you through this thing. That's what it all comes down to. So we're here to show them that simple, humble pair of walking shoes again. It ain't unlucky. It ain't an unlucky pair of shoes. These are not a bright and shiny pair of high heels. These are a modest pair of sandals. A modest pair of sandals that will protect your feet as you travel this rocky, oh so rocky road. So I'm not against Freemasons. I'm not against Satanists. I'm not against Christians. I'm not against Jewish people. I'm not against Muslim people. I'm not against Africans, Asians, Japanese, Eskimos, Icelanders, Nordics, South Americans, Mexicans, Californians, West Coast or East Coast. I ain't against nobody. I'm for everybody. I'm for everybody as Jesus Christ is for everybody. When Jesus Christ appeared in this world in the flesh, there was already a religious climate there. Jesus Christ did not create religion. Jesus Christ did not create churches. Jesus Christ did not create the Bible. Jesus Christ did not create Israel. Jesus Christ did not create these things. Jesus Christ called Israel into action, but of course Israel had forsaken that covenant, and then a creation of what Israel is now is a product of another. Don't get me confused there. But what I'm telling you is this is what makes these people have such an incredible worth. They're in action. When everybody else is sedentary, everybody else is unmotivated, everybody else is afraid of work, everybody else is afraid to study, everybody else wants to play, guess what? These people are freaking studying their asses off. These people care. And it's unfortunate that the care is turned into a cremation of a certain type of care and a replacement of a care of something else. It's unfortunate, and that's what I'm trying to help them see. But nonetheless, they care about spiritual truth. And you see that these people are willing to go to great lengths for it. Jesus sees that. It's like what happens with Saul being turned to Paul, If you think that Jesus Christ needs perfect people, you're wrong. What Jesus Christ needs is a vessel so that his perfection can be poured out upon. And that vessel doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be adequate. It has to be able to do something. It has to be able to contain that which it's received. Okay? So the vessel can be black, it can be white, it can be gold, it can be silver. It can be clean, and it most certainly can be dirty. Matter of fact, Jesus Christ commends the dirty cup that can hold the overflowing bounty of the spiritual truth, because he says, by default, that which overflows will clean the dirty cup on its outside. And then he warns those that try to fake like they're clean by dressing up their cups on the outside, but that which is in is rotten, rancid, and filthy. And then it could not overflow the cup and make the cup any better. It only makes the cup worse. So that we, as being an imperfect vessel, can only be made better if we can adequately contain this truth. And as it begins to bubble over and overflow in us, and we can share it with others, by that action alone, by that repercussion alone, it cleanses our outside. It cleanses our physicality. It cleanses our superficiality. It cleanses our animalistic natures. It cleanses our sin. Jesus Christ doesn't need perfect people here. He needs people who want to be perfect wholeheartedly. And what has happened is the shift for the procedure, the way for that to take place has been hijacked. And something else has been put in that view of these people who are seeking this fervency of perfection in a spiritual light. And unfortunately, they've been deceived. And now they seek it through the path of another that is crooked, but yet justifies this crookedness is the way to go. It's not. And then Jesus Christ lived that straight and narrow, basically counteracting their arrow. It must be shot in an arc to plot its target correctly. Well, not with Jesus Christ, because you don't lose velocity. You don't experience friction, and then you don't experience the declination, if you would, the declination of your mission, where you have to fall back down repeatedly again. No. That's when you look back. Stop looking back and start looking forward through the material into the potentials of the Spirit. And there's where we see that the creeds, the oaths, the doctrines, the books, the philosophies and the opinions, and even the unrealized experiences in their fullness of fruition, they fade away. And what is replaced is the real projection, the light of the projection of those truths that were only discerned as the shadow form of that truth in your material existence. Okay, we're in that shadow now. Don't make the choices of eternity based upon the fleeting of the illusion of a shadow. Don't do it. And by default, you fleet as the illusion with it. Don't do it. So, yeah, this is what makes these people so incredibly important. They're workers. They're dedicated. They're not afraid in many aspects to experience change. They will embrace it. Can't you see how these people, if they could be converted, become some of the greatest warriors for the truth of the kingdom and the eternities ahead? Jesus doesn't see them as they are. He sees them as they will be. Jesus sees you continually as the potential, not as the lump of clay doing nothing, but the clay that can do anything in the hands of the correct craftsman that knows how to form it into that beautiful piece of art. Art isn't made in a singular second. Art is an evolution of an idea that is brought from within, someplace deep within, and then ever so nurtured so that the outside can see what we've had on the inside the whole time. That's what real art is. Jesus Christ was the greatest artist that could have ever been. He lived his art, and his art was love. And the canvas was this world. The brushes, in a sense, become the people's lives that he touched. And then the different color paints become the different perceptual truths that they received and tried to define as best as they were able. In the reality, this creates a beautiful picture of truth that Jesus Christ had already lived and had painted like the greatest master artist that we could have ever imagined. And he has left us this heritage of artistically defined truth as he lived it by his experience. Everything that everybody supposedly that's on the dark side is after, Jesus Christ is already. They just have to stop seeing themselves as that now, because they're not. The kingdom is within only because you yourself are the temple. In the fact, if you accept Jesus Christ into that temple, Jesus Christ is the kingdom. You yourself are not the kingdom. If you were the kingdom, you wouldn't have to enter therein by free will of your choice. The kingdom is the extension of the king, which is God. And as we know, our God is better defined as a father. Not better defined as a father. It's the ultimate realization of what God is to the creature. Eternally a father. Eternally a father. A father's wisdom that exceeds the wisdom of his finite, experientially defined children. You know? That are now somehow being forced and pushed into making the decisions of their lives based upon the opinions of people before them that did not see too correctly into the distance. Well, Jesus does. So, yeah, I admire Freemasons. I admire people that are on a spiritual journey and in action with the acquisition of knowledge. I admire them. They're my types of people. They're who I appreciate. They're who I would want to spend my time with. You know? I don't want to be a Freemason. That's not what I'm saying. Don't mistake that. No. I'm throwing that stuff to the curb. And I'm talking about the feeling that we all have that motivates us in the spirit, that makes us get up in the morning and cast off the depression of the woes of the world and still retain that hope and that joy for the better things ahead. These people do that. They do that. And, I can see the worth in that. And if I can see the worth in that, wow, Jesus Christ is ecstatically overjoyed at that. We just need to shift the observer's view from coveting the material as the reality, and it's not. The spiritual is the projection of the material, and therefore the material is only the shadow repercussion of the original form in which the shadow is from. Go to the source. Don't fall to the illusion that the shadow is the existence of. It's not. It's not. It's only the persistence of that portion of the existence of that is rejecting the light. And then the shadow is the justification for the obstruction of light. And then those that want to stay in it, they're afraid of the light. The truth of the light will burn them. By default. By default. Their own fault. That's why you need hoods. That's why you need shades and sunglasses. In the spiritual sense, as they are spiritually symbolizing things that they're fulfilling in the fractal that they can't even realize, that they're showing the truth that they don't realize. So, oh my gosh, it would be so amazing if we would all look further into the distance and see the beauty of the brotherhood, the beauty of the sisterhood, the beauty of the family, and throw away the kings and the queens and the pawns and the rooks and the crooks and whoever else is involved in this Mad Hatter house of cards. It's the family, and the family takes care of each other, but it's not the family in a particular club. No. Anybody that is not perfect now is everybody. It's just different levels of imperfection. And then when you look at that and put it up against the scope of eternity ahead, in relative fashion, the highest to the lowest of those supposedly perfected here are the same in relative fashion to eternity and the growth that we have before us. It's comparing apples and oranges once again. It's still the very same fruits of truth that offer the same sustenance and vitamins of a spiritual life. One is not better than the other. One is just more preferred than the other, just simply by cultural tastes. And maybe longitudinal position. So wow, I'm upset with myself because I don't want it to be. I don't want people to define this as that I am against people in any way. Instead, I'm for people in every way. For people in every way. You've got the sedentary Christian, which is great because by faith they've already achieved what so many other people validate and justify through knowledge. Okay, and it's okay. It's okay. There is no special requirement of knowledge that you've got to have to get through the gates of heaven. There is no corridor of death and monsters and mazes from the Egyptian Book of the Dead that if you don't have special astrological, astronomical, calculable, mathematical knowledge, that you're going to be denied existence in eternity. It's all hogwash. That's all based upon what the Nephilim needed as they believed that they were going to circumnavigate the seal and the judgment that was put against them. They needed all that quasi-scientific mumbo-jumbo, which failed them. And it will fail any of those that follow after that. As I said, there's a practicality to that knowledge, and it's based upon intricities of the observable universe, which are equational dynamos of understanding. But as you see that the understanding was being used to advert the design, the original design of the Creator. And that's by default of what these men do now, which is unfortunate. If we could get what they were doing and working so hard to supposedly change the world, but in using evil as the tool and the vehicle to do it, let's just get them to use the good to do it. Because it can be good for good, not bad for good. Not bad for good. You can use a hammer to build a house or to tear one down. It is open to your perception. It's just unfortunately, the majority of the people wielding the hammer think they got to tear the house down. No, we don't got to tear this house down. This house does not have to burn. It does not. Anybody telling you that it does is a fool to their own reflection. No. No, we could change this world with everybody we got on it right now. And we could make it with all of the resources that we have right now. They are renewable. Guess what? We're short on resources. Well, we got asteroids and meteors and other planets. They got water, they got gold, they got nickel, they got copper, they got gas, they got everything that we think that we're in short of here right now. It's all out there. And supposedly at the pinnacle of society, as man reaches this point, they're saying everything is short and that we need to kill a bunch of people. Georgia Guidestones type thing. Agenda 21 type thing, I mean, come on. Agenda 21, remember the comet Shoemaker Levy 9, and then it exploded, or it was broken apart into what? 21 pieces. 21 pieces. 3 divide 21 is what? 7, 7, 7. 21 agenda, 7, 7, 7. What is this 21 agenda associated with? Fire from the sky. Very same thing that we saw in relationship to a pilot study that you would consider Jupiter became in a scientific, observable manner. And it has everything to do with this Agenda 21 that is being planned, in essence, of the same reflection of something hitting us in multiple places around this world. Doesn't have to be that way. Who says that it does? Huh? A pattern? A tradition? A cycle? Well, it's stagnant. A serpent eating his own tail? Who wants to follow a serpent that is gorging on its own butt? Huh? Not me. No amount of doctrine, no amount of brainwashing, no amount of ritual ceremony is going to take anything out of my mind that is not already understood as the absolute equational path to truth. You're never going to take that away from me. They validate themselves. But a serpent biting its own butt, eating it, cannot validate itself, cannot justify its own act. The very act is cannibalism of itself. Destroyer, the destroyer, Leviathan, Apollyon, the destroyer. That's what the names literally mean. Okay, where would it come from? Well, take a look at a serpent destroying himself, eating his own butt, his own ass. And then we got Ouroboros, which is burrow is an ass, is a donkey. And we got our burrows, our asses. And then in essence, that sacrifice, their sacrifices that they have been propagating to reap some sort of harvest of ill-gotten gain on this world over the kingdoms of men. And it's being exposed. It's being exposed of where it's originally come from, what it's originally about, and then what they've turned it into, which is just a reflection of its origination, but now the reflection is backwards. No longer are they seeking to save life with the very act of this supposed lifting up. They're causing the death of the life. And then the pride and the vanity and the racism is the thing that is causing those that can be lifted up. Dare I say money. She's buying the stairway to heaven. They ain't giving this thing away for free. Right? I ain't against nobody. Like I said, I'm amazed at the paradox here on this world. At who was in a fervent study and a lot of people who were not. And then the rift between them. And then, in a sense, how one portion is turning on the other. You shouldn't. You should harmonize with the other. Because there is no point in time that anybody could be that going forward into the right direction would not benefit. I don't care who you are, what race you are, anything. Who's to say that the Nephilim children, that once they were born, are they automatically evil? Jesus didn't think so. He said, behold, all souls are mine. All souls. He says it is the individual that commits the evil act that is responsible for the evil act. It's not the sons will be defined by the sins of the father, as Israel would say, because the fathers have eaten sour grapes. The children's teeth are set on edge. Now, the Spirit says, no, you'll have no more occasion to use that parable here, because all souls are his. With his, you don't believe in the power of Jesus Christ if you're thinking that you have to kill these people, in essence of them being undesirable, the seed of some sort of evil. You know? You don't believe in the power of Jesus Christ, the transforming power of the Spirit of truth that can be had in their lives if they would just see. You know? Jesus believes in that power. He says he's not going to lose a single one, but the sons of perdition. And we've already shown what that means. It represents, perdition represents destruction, wasting, destroyer. We already talked about who that was. That's a serpent eating his own tail. Okay? You become a cannibal. Okay? You become a serpent that is seeking to destroy and gorge on your own kind. You know? When people are asking for a hand, are you giving them a foot? Are you so wrapped up into this idea of you yourself being a god that you're acting like an absolute devil to everyone around you? I don't know. The point is that's what makes these people so valuable, is that they are not afraid of work. They will go after something, and they will do everything that they can to achieve it. Most of them, we just need to get them to see that we're really all after the same goals. But how they're being achieved, we're not all after that. No. We understand that the spiritual progress is done by an exponential gain, that velocity cannot be achieved with a stop and go, a black to white, an up to down, a back to forth. No more of that. We have to go straight forward, gain momentum, and then capitalize off of that momentum with velocity. And then that velocity, in essence, we can create that perpetual motion. And then that perpetual motion will be an inexhaustible form of energy, in essence, what the spirit identity becomes. Okay, not that the spirit is energy, because it's not just simply energy, but energy is a manifestation of the spirit identity. as we see it. But it's more than that. It's more than what you see. Okay. Oh boy, I hope that I was able to get that across. You know, that's why we're going to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, because these people understand all this stuff. The average Christian doesn't understand it. You don't need to understand it. As I said, he's got the faith. The faith's going to carry him through. The faith is the key. It's been given freely. All right. When is anybody going to understand that? Don't be upset because what you think. That's called wisdom. That's called a father that sees his children equally, and that is no respecter of persons. That's fulfillment of prophecy in Scripture, and it's fullest. How could you have a qualm with it? The only thing that you got a qualm with in reality is that your inability to accept it as truth. That's where you got qualms with. That's where we got qualms with. Until you can accept that, we will have qualms. All right. I'm tired of hearing myself speak. Check this out. There was so much to say. This is part of the problem here. I wanted to show you with the backwards S is where we get that angle. That's the same angle that we're talking about with the tilt of the earth being knocked in the past, right? And then we showed you that same angle was the right eye being made the left by default, or the left eye being made the right by default in the left eye placement, and then the astral projection to the left hand portion of the brain, which is the materially blinded facts, because it doesn't have the health, the hope, and the help of the Spirit, because it's rejected. Jesus Christ going to the right hand of the Father, they reject Jesus Christ, right hand of the brain, therefore they're only left with this one thing, the shadow side, and then by default they themselves fulfill the shadow. So it's the same angle here with the backwards S. How could that have been possible? And then what I was telling you about with the fourth temple, notice that when we mirror the two fours together, what does it make? It makes a temple. It makes a pyramid, a temple complex. And then in essence, this would be your New Jerusalem. From their vantage point, not the reality of what a spiritual Jerusalem is, no, but the bastardized material version of this as it's manifested from the skewed tangent of their own choice of reality. Yeah, they say that, quantum physics, the observer creates his own reality. They're creating it right there. Check it out. Admire the serpent temple, where the serpent has now capitalized on the spiritual life of man and has dominated it. And now, in essence, is going to only eat the fruit of his own ass. Right? Out of the mouth of the eater shall come forth meat. Keep your meat. Keep your meat. I'll go with water. Just please serve me water. Okay, everybody else can be having their snake butt. And waiter, please just bring me a glass of water. Simple glass of water. I'll go without at this point. Okay, them belly full. Okay, I'll go hungry. No problem. No problem. So, okay, there was so much to say. I didn't say it. Check this out. Okay, even if you watch this video and you didn't like what I was saying in the beginning, okay, whatever. Okay, and show this next part to the rest of the people that you know. Okay, show this next part. Tell them not to watch the first part if you don't want them to, whatever. But show them this. And for you guys that saw the other video that was jumbled up, there's so much to talk about. It's hard to do. This is one of the reasons why I was unable to even get it all out. Watch what happens. Watch what happens here. We brought you these connections. We show you this direction, left eye to the right hemisphere of the brain. It's not being chosen. It's the backwards S, which is a reversion of the spirit back into material, which fulfills the fractal, because the fallen beings are leaving the spirit world by default of their rejection of it, and then by default they're coming down into the material themselves, right? So then this relative S going back into the material matter in aspect is the reflection of their own choice. And by their choices now, we see that man is not progressing into the spiritual truth, but is now regressing back into the focus of the material matter again. And then that tree of the Sephiroth that we saw in the Kabbalah will prove that. because then that just becomes a diagram for the somatic cell, of which becomes a evolving symbol for the dust particle of man that was created and called atoms. Okay? Plain and simple. And then now you're looking back into the dust. All right? Well, the only sense of what you need to be born again from is spiritually. You don't need to be born again materially. And that's what they're trying to do, because somebody else has to be born into this material, and the current material seal will reject him. So they need to bore something again with a new seal, a new selected spiritual seal, so that this fallen spirit being can revert back into the material matter. See that? Okay, now what you might not see is what's going to happen here. Notice that when I showed you we mirrored the backward S. Look what happens. You bring the two together. What did it create for us? It created the feminine inverted triangle, the sacred womb. What did we see that with the movie Gangs of New York, where they had the sacrifice at the 5 boroughs? It was an inverted triangle. What do we see in the movie Night of the Comet, 1984? We saw at the end it was all about an inverted triangle with Regina and that little girl holding the bunny, and the Danny Mason Kether type thing. This dude that comes on this car that was a horse like a Mustang, and he says he's got 23 of them. You know what I mean? Anybody remember all that? So this, how does that form? How does it form when we made this 3 above and 3 below? And then now it's showing us the same daggone angle that we've already realized is associated with the 23 Enigma, which is the tilt to this Earth because it's been knocked in the past by some sort of solar invader. How is that possible? And then how is this going to be possible? What I'm going to show you next. You already saw that. Unreal. There's more to say about that. There's more to say about this arc above and this arc below that we connected with arc electricity. Okay, more to say about that. None of that was an accident. Every bit of it is going to be relative. Every bit of it will be a testament and a witness to the power of the Spirit of Truth that will reveal truth in all things consistently. You got the Spirit of Truth? Or do you got the rejection of the Spirit of Truth? Do you got such a vessel to where you already think that you're so much of a God that you can't accept this simple, pure, clean, and crisp water? Because you're already so filthy on the inside that your supposed perfect outside is just simply hiding your faults that you know you got. You know you got that. Well, I would rather be openly, superficially at fault to everyone around me, and then knowing that I'm doing my best to acquire that saving, perfect water that is being poured out as the Spirit of Truth, that when it does run over, by consequence, will clean the outside of the cup. You see that? That's what redemption is. That's what a Savior is. That's what the wisdom of God is. That's what the glory of God is. You know, that's how it works for us. Now watch how it works with the manifestation. We see this inverted triangle. All right, well, I'm talking about the fractal, right? Look what we saw here. Look real close here. He's saying, remember Lot's wife. And I want you to think Camelot with their symbolisms of knights and things like that. And then Lot, and then Camel, and then Camelot. And then think about witches, a movie, Salem's Lot. And then the Salem witch trials, and then what was supposedly supposed to be making these people go crazy on both sides of the fence. You know, what was it? It was fungus. And then LSD is what? Hallucinogenic, that is associated with what? You know, Lucifer, Satan, and the devil, the illusion. And this is associated with this poisoning of the wheat that creates the fungus, which is known as what? Ergo. And then ergo is blackness. And then now witches are symbolized with blackness. I mean, come on. Come on. So we're about to have an audio outage. It's going to be very important. Let's see. It's going to happen at the 40-minute marker at the 30-second point. Somewhere right around there. I'm just going to go ahead and set us up here. This is chapter 17, the book of Luke. Remember, we started here at verse 33, which Jesus gives us this division of these 2 groups of 3 that are separated into 3 groups of 2. All right? We saw that. Give me a moment. Audio's about to go out. It's going to be a little bit. Remember, we're dealing with people that might not watch every video. Okay, and then we're dealing with people that it's hard to retain all this. I mean, good gracious, it's hard for me to retain all this, you know? So we always have to kind of re-shore up the foundation that we're already standing on to let you know that that foundation is there perfectly intact. Okay, we're coming up to the audio outage. I'm going to show you something super incredible. A miracle. Alright, and then I'm going to stop this video. There's so much more I want to say, but I'll stop this video. Okay, we showed you that Jesus has given us these two groups of three that are being broken down into three groups of two. Or two groups of three groups of two being broken down into two groups of three. Alright, that's what I'm trying to say. Which in essence we understand that the 33 is not being taken up in full. One half is being rejected. And as I already said, it's a half of a half to begin with. So it's a real small number. Alright? We get, in essence, two men that are being shown taken up and only one woman. Watch this. Two men and only one woman are being taken up. Watch this. This will prove that none of this is a fluke. This will prove that the Spirit of Truth will produce spontaneous spirit fruits to anybody that can receive. Oh, man. Oh, my gosh. Okay. Basically what I did here was I have mirrored the S like we saw here. This was old. This is probably about a month ago I did all this. I mirrored the S like you see here, which was the backwards S by choice. And then that now becomes the left-hand hemisphere of the brain, which is the material, which becomes double, which is really the illusion of some sort of spiritual truth that they got, but it's not. It's only the reflection of the material shadow, in which they are in obstruction of the spiritual light. All right, so they don't got spiritual light. And then when they do get in the spiritual light, they throw on their shades and their hoodies because it burns them. The truth of it will burn them, you know, by default of the rejection of it and their design within it. They think they got to be something else. Well, no, what you got to be is involved in the plan of the revelation of truth to the mortals of time and space. And who is not involved in that plan any longer is Lucifer, Satan, and the devil. They reject that plan, and now the plan is to reveal themselves as the spiritual truth to the mortals of time and space. And they're not. They're not. All right, so what happens here when I join the two S's together? By default, when we mirrored the S into the mirror, the backwards, it creates the inverted singular triangle. That's, guess what, guys? That's the symbolism for female. That's the womb we've been seeing in every possible way that you could possibly imagine it displayed to us. Now, I got two other S's on here, right? All right, well, we know that we've got one S, as I told you, which is 1 3 above and then 1 3 below, right? Or 1 4 above, 1 4 below. It's certainly not 2 4s. It's certainly not two 3s. We know this all because of the simple singular I symbolism. And then we know that the I is rejecting the right-hand portion, the spiritual truth of the brain, in connection to the truth of Jesus Christ, in which he said he would ascend to the right hand of the Father. And which is not the right-hand hemisphere of the brain, but in a materially toned-down manifestation, it is in that reflection, at least of that spiritual truth of that observation. So there's only one S there. So these are not two S's because you got the mirror here, which makes you think it's two. Nope, it's one. So what we see here is two S's is only another singular S. This whole thing right here is just two S's. SS. It's the safe and sound, and then it's the sons of Sam, right? So how does this fulfill? All right. Well, keep watching. We had the sons of Sam were being symbolized as what? Two lions. Okay. There's your two lions. As I said, it breaks it up in between two great time periods. One antiquitous, the other more contemporary. Okay, two lions. Then we saw in Ezekiel, it brings us to chapter 23, inverted triangle, and then it does what? It reveals two women, right? Two women. So in other words, this becomes the sons of Sam, and then this becomes the daughters of Samaria. Sons of Sam, daughters of Samaria. SS. Right? Says that those two daughters have the same mother. We know that the two lions represent the original origin from this mother. They're co-joined. So as you know, everything that I've said to you here, this represents a singular S, the sons of Sam joining with the daughters of Samaria. And then the mirror is involved. The fraction begins to take place. You begin to visualize a greater whole, in which in all reality it's the illusion of a greater whole, which is hiding its selective vanities, if you will, that fulfills itself with the cliche mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all. In rejection of all these other people that think they're fair, there can only be this one fair individual, right? Right? Okay, well, there's the deception. That's what Jesus Christ is telling you. Their kingdom is divided. They're not taking up the other half. They're making the other half think they will, so they'll complete the work. And then they abandon them. Woe to the outer shepherd who shall leave the flock. Well, it's right here, guys. You see now the inverted triangle show up as a symbolism for woman. Look what now, when you mirror the other S, you would mirror this in a mirror. That's the reflection that you would see. That's the symmetry. You would mirror this in the mirror. That's the reflection that you would see. That'd be the symmetry. We have one inverted triangle that shows up, perfect geometry, and then now two triangles facing up. What would that be? Averted, okay, upside down, and two facing up. What does that mean? Well, it means Jesus Christ knows what he's talking about. Because what do we see right here take place? What do we see take place here? I tell you, in that night, there should be two men in one bed. One should be taken, the other should be left. Two women should be grinding together. One should be taken, the other should be left. Two men should be in a field. One should be taken, the other left. Two men are taken, and one woman. Two men, that's the symbol for the phallus. That's the symbol for fire. That's the symbol for male. That's the symbol for woman. Two men and one woman. There's your illusion of four. The SS above, the SS below. Broken all the way back down to the hemispheres of the brain. Faulty observation of the observer. The singular eye. In conjunction with the parable truth of Jesus Christ, as he reveals who's going to be taken. The geometry manifested on another medium of calculation in the observable world. But yet does what? Shows you the exact same thing that you would never have known it was there, but yet it's there. It's there with or without you. The truth will remain long after those that have rejected it are gone. Can you believe that? I'm beyond, and I've been beyond. That's why I'm not producing these videos. There's much time between these videos now because, for one, I know that you got to have the time to receive it, but I have to have time to process this. I have to have time to tone myself down. I have to have time to put myself in perspective. I have to have time to unseat myself off of a high horse. That could happen, and has happened. And I realize that I don't always come across correctly. I don't always come across as friendly. I don't always come across as patient. I don't always come across as a great guy, I'm under a lot of pressure. I'm under a lot of stress. I've got an incredible load upon me, but I willingly accept all that. I'm willingly accept the persecution that comes with it. I'm willingly wise enough myself to take all of the flack that I get for people, knowing that in the future they will see what was happening here, and that they won't be against me for it. They will thank me, and I'll thank them as we go hand in hand in this thing to the truth. And forget all the stuff that I did up here. Forget that it was 2 points and 2 circles. We would change this to all points for the S's or all circles. It wouldn't make a difference. This geometry here is going to stay the same. Okay? That geometry there is going to stay the same. Now, here's what's going to be really freaky. Okay? What's really, 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 really going to be freaky. It's just like, oh, it's just so much. Do you see now what is the lines, the first 3 lines that we developed? They're still there, a 3, a 3, and a 3. 3, 3, 3. Apart now the geometry of the averted and inverted triangles. Which you might think, oh, that's a greater number. There's more. No. It's the fraction of the number itself. It's the greater fracture of the number that was more. Okay, each of the triangles themselves are reflecting a singular 3. And that's what's being lifted up as the elect tri-city, which is the reflection of the 3. Is not the triangle 3 points? 1, 2, 3. And then now we see the 3 linear lines, the faulty observable sight that is defining them in a linear term. Right? So then you get the 33 with the triangle, and then the addition of the 2 lines that form the base of its geometry. It's a fracture. It's not a multiplication of the potential. It's a fracture of the potential. It's a division, divide and conquer, once again, over and over and over again. Remember, as they're trying to create this life by looking back into the cellular, by creating a born-again scenario, well, then they have to cellularly divide. That's mitosis. That's divide and conquer. When we've already come from the division of the divide and conquer, which has evolved into the harmony of the whole body, that has, in a sense, harmonized from a divide and conquer scenario that it's already overcome in the struggle to become the pinnacle of man that it is. And then now they would go back into divide and conquer to divide the pinnacle to come back into the singular cell of dust. Well, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, I guess. You will fade away with it. But as we are now going through the struggle of the divide and conquer to become the pinnacle of that which is, we are now harmonized with the entirety of the whole. That's what Jesus Christ says, the whole body. And they're trying to divide it all over again. So why would you need to be born again materially? No, you need to be born again spiritually. What you are materially is fine. Jesus Christ will accept it. Nephilim blood or not. White skin, black skin, brown skin, yellow skin, red skin, blue skin, polka dot skin, no skin at all, no hair at all, fat, skinny, whatever you are. It doesn't make no difference. You are potential. And you're worth something. And you're worth an infinity of something in eternity if we could just get you to travel the correct direction along the path. Jesus Christ is real. Anybody that's thinking Jesus Christ is not real has been indoctrinated. You have been taught by a process to believe that he's not real. And if that doesn't work, they taught you a process to believe that he was just a man. And then within that process is the counter teaching that man himself is God. And then they use Jesus Christ by default to validate the truth, which is actually the lie, that man is not God, that man does have a God that would lift him to the potential of the virtue of what God is. And that which we know is based upon love and the compassion that flows outward from it. And that would embrace anything around it in that very same love, and not reject it in any shape, form, or fashion of hate. If Jesus was this crazy, murderer, judgmental God that was super jealous, as it is reported in the Old Testament, well, he would have been wiping people out when he was walking in the flesh. And if he was so against sinners and that blood must be required and the sinners got to die, why was he healing all these sinners and then having dinner with them and supper with them and protecting them from other people that wanted to stone and destroy him? Huh? Didn't seem to work out with what the YouTube broad Christians want us to believe, But it does work out with the Nibiru, Anunnaki, ancient God scenario with those that have been deceived and basically taken the work of the dark side as the supposed work of the light. And then rejected what the light was. How do you not see it? Jesus Christ is amazing. It's amazing. I'm reeling over these things. I'm left to somehow carry on a regular existence among other people that don't know this stuff, One of the hardest things for me to do is to get beside somebody that's just a regular old person, doesn't know none of this, and for me to just act like a regular old person, don't know none of this also. But I got to do that. I can't start blabbing off to people that aren't ready to receive, because it could confuse them further. Not necessarily confuse them of what the truth is, but at least confuse them about what I am, And then by default, they could reject the truth because of it. That's where YouTube comes into play. That's why you got to push this button to watch these videos. I don't push your buttons and make you watch these videos. No, you got to come to me. Okay, I put it out there. But you've got to come to it by your own volition, by your own will. This has got to be in your equational path already. And if you're traveling the path of truth and the reflection of what Jesus Christ reveals, well, you are going to come upon this, just as you already have. So how could that be possible, that the manifestation, as I've showed it to you with S's and backwards S's and 3's, and then divide and conquer scenarios, that it will fulfill in the geometry one singular female, two symbolic males, that they themselves must now be the reflection of that elect Tri-City, as above so below, elect Tri-City 3 points, elect Tri-City 3 linear lines. Who's got their ears on? Who's got their ears on? Who is overjoyed when they can witness the possibility, at least for some, that they might be actually having experience with what many people would look back on from their future vantage point as actual scriptural records being manifested, and that will be recorded and passed on to the next generation. You're a part of this. I'm a part of this. We're writing the book of the struggle of man's last stage in his momentous choice between that rock and a hard place known as the Great Falling Away. We're living that. You're living that choice. You're defining yourself with what you believe is truth and what you're willing to do to get it. Are you willing to humble yourselves and accept those around you as the potential vessels for perfection in the eternities ahead? Or are you willing to reject them for the pinnacle of yourself as the truth of the divinity of your own God now? And then going to be a part of a murderous plot because of it. You're defining yourself by these things. You know? Death doesn't define one as being a god. You know? It's the choice to offer all of those a way to live. That's what Jesus Christ does. He offers everybody a way to live. Everybody. Even those that reject it. He's still offering you that way to live. Okay? I'm blown away. I'm blown away because exactly what is revealed, how he reveals. You even put this field up here, this other field, as the fourth portion. Remember that I told you reflects. If we got the 3 and the 3, what is it? 3 groups of 2 that are divided into 2 groups of 3. And then we need a 4 because that would be the 4th temple. Well, then the 4th manifestation of this, as I said, is on the moon. And then here we see this representation of a 4th something to this equation. Okay? It's crazy. It's crazy. And then the 4th something that is added to the equation that makes the illusion complete is the whole geometry with the sophistry of the backwards S. Here means so much that, I mean, surfacely you think you already know what it means, but it's telling you more. It's telling you more. Oh, man. What should I do now? What should I do? I should show you these numbers. It's only going to take a few more moments. Page after page after page after page over here. Just had it. Trying to show you those numbers with the orbit of Nibiru and how they link up to the 144,000, which will prove to you everything that I told you about this rapture scenario. I'll just have to do the equations again. Everything about this rapture scenario is intrinsically timed up with what I just told you. Well, man, it's an hour and 3 minutes in already. What I'll do is I'm just going to come right back. I'm going to come right back with a video, and that will reproduce the equations. That is going to blow you away. What's 40 times 3,600 people? 40 is the number for Enki. And then Enki would be intrinsically related to the supposed 3,600 elliptical orbit of Nibiru, right? 40 times 3,600. Oh, it just so happens to be 144,000. 144,000, does that sound familiar? Why would Enki's number, 40, times 3,600 for the Anunnaki, have anything to do with 144,000 of the 12 tribes of Israel that are supposed to be saved from some sort of cataclysm? Some sort of special elect, which we know the cataclysm is being caused by their own high hand, Ephraim, on the dark side of the moon. They're causing this. It's not a natural calamity. It's not anything but their own work, and they're causing it. So 40 times 3,600 equals 144,000. And then we would divide that with the solar year, divide 144,000 by 365. What do we come up with? 394. What is 394? Well, 394 is a Baktun. What makes up one Baktun of 394 years? Well, that would be 12 times 12,000 days, as you should know, which is 144,000 days. Back where we started. 40 times 3,600 is 144,000 years. Divide that by 365, the solar year, comes up to 394, which is a Mayan Baktun, right? It takes 13 Baktuns to make up one world age. Dan is the 13th judge. Dan is considered a serpent judge. Ephraim is the 13th tribe. Ephraim is considered a serpent worshiper, right? 394 now. What makes up 394? As I said, 12 times 12,000 is 144,000 days, guys. It's the same thing from micro to macro. I'll be back.